Can you imagine losing something that defines who you are? Our tale begins with Alexander Karpov, a virtuoso violinist known as much for his striking charisma as for his soul-stirring melodies. He sits alone, a silhouette of desolation, in the echo of his apartment. His usual spark is dimmed, his spirit eclipsed by a profound loss. In his trembling hands, he cradles Serafina, his Stradivarius violin. More than a mere instrument, Serafina is his voice, his muse, his confidant. She's a part of him, a part of his music, a part of his very being, but now she's gone. A void has been carved into his world, a silence that rings louder than any symphony. The emptiness around him mirrors the hollowness within him. His once vibrant eyes now hold a hollow gaze, a testament to his unspeakable sorrow. Without Serafina, Alexander felt a part of his soul was missing. The maestro's melancholy has just begun. Picture this: Carnegie Hall, a captivated audience, and a violinist in despair. Alexander Karpov, the maestro himself, is in the throes of an unforgettable performance. His violin, Serafina, is singing a melody that has the audience spellbound. That is, until the music abruptly ceases. A chilling silence descends upon the hall as Alexander's eyes dart around in panic. Where is Serafina? His precious Stradivarius is nowhere to be seen. Whispers ripple through the crowd, a shared confusion mirroring Alexander's own bewilderment. The applause has faded into a deafening silence, the enchantment broken. The stage, once a platform for Alexander's brilliance, is now a spotlight on his despair. The maestro without his muse is like a ship lost at sea. The audience can only watch, their breath held in a collective gasp as the realization of the missing violin becomes painfully clear. The music had stopped, but the mystery had just begun. Back in the silence of his apartment, Alexander was enveloped by grief. The walls echoed with a haunting emptiness, mirroring the hollow space once filled by Serafina's soulful vibrance. The silence was a cruel reminder of her absence. It was as if the music had been snatched away from his life, leaving behind an eerie quietude. Alexander, the maestro, the virtuoso, now found himself in an unfamiliar territory, a realm where his Stradivarius no longer sang. He feared the stage, the spotlight, the applause. He feared the strings beneath his fingertips would only produce a hollow echo of the symphony he once crafted with Serafina. He was paralyzed by an unyielding dread that he would never again be able to recreate the magic, the enchantment, the spell that Serafina spun around his audience. He was a maestro without his instrument, a painter without his brush, a poet without his pen. His world was losing its melody. In came Amelia Hartman, a private investigator with a reputation for cracking the toughest cases. Amelia, known for her razor-sharp intellect and relentless determination, was no stranger to the world of stolen treasures. Amelia, known for her razor-sharp intellect and relentless determination, was no stranger to the world of stolen treasures. She had recovered lost paintings, missing manuscripts, and even a misplaced Fabergé egg. But the case of the stolen Stradivarius was different. The violin, named Serafina, wasn't just a musical instrument. The violin, named Serafina, wasn't just a musical instrument. It was a piece of history, a work of art, and above all, it was Alexander Karpov's soulmate in music. Amelia understood the gravity of the situation. She knew the odds were stacked against her, but she had a knack for thriving under pressure. She looked Alexander in the eye, her gaze steady and resolute, and made a vow. She would find Serafina no matter what it took. The quest for Serafina was on. In Amelia's office, the duo delved into the intricacies of the case. The air was heavy with anticipation as they plotted their course of action. Strategies were discussed, motives scrutinized, and possible suspects identified. The mystery of the lost Serafina was a complex puzzle, one that required a keen eye and a sharp mind. The initial skepticism that had clouded Alexander's face began to dissipate. He was no longer a passive observer, but an active participant. His eyes lit up with a newfound determination, mirroring the steely resolve of Amelia. Each clue was a stepping stone, leading them deeper into the labyrinth of the case. The room was filled with an electric energy, the once mundane office transformed into a battleground of wits. A symphony of thought and deduction played out, each note bringing them closer to the truth. The search for Serafina was turning into a thrilling chase. The streets of the city whispered clues leading to an unexpected revelation. As Amelia and Alexander delved deeper into the labyrinth of the city, a peculiar pattern began to emerge. They stumbled upon a trail of breadcrumbs that pointed to a startling possibility. Someone, it seemed, had mistakenly acquired a counterfeit Stradivarius cello, believing it to be the lost Serafina. This discovery was like a bolt from the blue. It suggested a twist in the tale, a riddle within a riddle. How could it be? How could the thief not discern Serafina's unique melody from a counterfeit? Perhaps the thief was not an expert in music but a mere opportunist. Or perhaps the thief was a puppet in a larger scheme. The possibility of the counterfeit cello being used in a public performance loomed large. The thief, they suspected, might hope that no one would notice, but Amelia and Alexander would. The plot was thickening. The duo navigated through a labyrinth of suspects, each more elusive than the last. They wove their way through the tangled threads of the criminal underworld, a realm where music and antiques intermingled in a haunting melody of deceit. Each suspect they confronted was a new verse in this symphony of suspicion, their stories as varied as the notes on a scale. They encountered a shady antique dealer with a penchant for rare instruments, his eyes gleaming with greed. Then, a disgruntled former student of Alexander's, bitter and yearning for recognition. And let's not forget the envious rival violinist, whose desire to outshine Alexander seemed to know no bounds. Each encounter, a riddle wrapped in a mystery inside an enigma, brought them one step closer to the truth. Yet with every path they pursued, the melody seemed to grow fainter. The harmony was broken, the rhythm disrupted, yet Serafina remained elusive. Finally, the shadows unveiled the thief, the Maestro. A fitting name for a man who had orchestrated a symphony of deception, hiding in the shadows of secrecy, all while amassing a fortune from his ill-gotten collection of rare musical instruments. His name was whispered in hushed tones among the elite, his reputation built on the thrill of the chase, the allure of the unknown. No one knew his true identity, for he was as elusive as a melody dancing on the wind. His latest acquisition, Serafina, had struck a discordant note, causing ripples in his otherwise harmonious world. This Stradivarius violin, a masterpiece in its own right, had become the focal point of an investigation that would ultimately lead to his unmasking. Amelia and Alexander, united in their quest, had finally put a face to the enigma. But would they retrieve Serafina? That remained the final note in this riveting composition. In the Maestro's lair, truth and deception danced a tense tango. The air was thick with the weight of unspoken secrets, each one a note in a symphony of silence. Amelia Hartman, the private investigator, stood tall, her eyes locked onto the Maestro, a man shrouded in mystery and music. The Maestro, known for his collection of rare musical instruments, finally confessed to his crime. "I took Serafina," he admitted, his voice a whisper in the cavernous room. "I thought it held the key to a hidden composition by Stradivarius himself." His face was a mask of regret as he realized his grave mistake. However, when Amelia presented the evidence of the counterfeit cello, the Maestro's face fell further. His hands trembled as he accepted his folly, understanding the depth of his error. With a heavy sigh, he agreed to return Serafina, the stolen violin, and with that, the tense standoff ended. Serafina was coming home. Back on the stage, Alexander was ready to play his heart out. The lights dimmed, the auditorium silenced, anticipation hung thick in the air. His fingers traced the familiar contours of Serafina. The violin, once lost but now found, seemed to hum with a life of its own. As he drew the bow across the strings, the first note resonated deep within the hearts of every person in the room. It was a song of despair and hope, of pain and strength, each note a testament to his journey, a journey that had taken him from the depths of despair, through the labyrinth of fear, and into the arms of courage. The music swelled, filling the hall with a melody that was as much a part of Alexander as his own heartbeat. As the last note faded into a lingering echo, the audience erupted into applause. In the end, it was not just about a lost violin, but a found strength.